Welcome back. You're listening to the panel discussion, Balancing the Need for Cybersecurity with the Desire for Innovation, sponsored by Leidos on federalnewsradio.com and 1500 AM. I'm your host, Jason Miller. My guests today are Angie Heisey, the Civil Group President for Leidos, Renee Wynn, the Chief Information Officer at NASA, and Captain Michael Dickey, the Commander of the U.S. Coast Guard's C4IT Service Center. We had just left the last segment talking about workforce and talking about the need for the balance. And Renee, you brought up the contractor side of the equation, and I want to turn to Angie on this to lead us off. Give me a sense when you hear about the contractor piece of the cybersecurity and workforce and filling the needs where there's workforce gaps and skill gaps. Talk a little about the role that contractors do play.
Yeah, absolutely. So we take our ability to partner with our customers, right, very seriously, and want to make sure that we're aligned, not only from what solutions they need, what talent they need, and how we can do this. And so a couple of the ways at Leidos that we do this is we also provide the cybersecurity internally for our corporation. And so we're able to, if you will, eat our own dog food, right? We're able to actually...
Drink your own champagne.
That's better. That's much better.
It's a champagne.
Yeah, exactly. So all the solutions and talent, we rotate people through, right? So that they get experience of not only from a corporation perspective, but then they can also move out to our other customers to be able to experience the federal environment or commercial environment. And there's a couple of really great things that I find that happens with that. One, our customers get significant value out of it, right? Because they get people that have attack the problem from different perspectives, right? Whether they're working at some sort of financial institution, or they're working at the Pentagon, or they're working at Leidos headquarters. So they build up that curiosity that Renee was talking about and those problem-solving skills in a way that directly benefits the mission of all our customers. It also is fantastic for us because it allows us to attract more people, because there's not too many companies out there that can actually offer that, right? To offer them the experiences that we can against the diverse set of customers that we have. It also is an attractor for those people that don't have technology degrees but are interested in getting in cybersecurity. We have a great training program that we send people through. It's a 2-week course, and we score them on how they do, and if they're able to actually pass with flying colors, then they move on to the next level. And what we found is we have lawyers, we have people with social sciences, different degrees that really have this thirst for knowledge and finding problems that really excel, and it gives them a different career option, which is great, not only for our company, but again, like for our customers and our partners.
Captain Dickey, as Angie was going through what Leidos does with its people, very similar to the rotational assignments we hear within the military and the Coast Guard. Talk about the workforce from your perspective to ensure that the cyber, the innovation, all these pieces fit together within the workforce skills.
So for the Coast Guard's workforce, we absolutely depend on a very broad mix of active duty uniform members, our civilian workforce, and also the contractors who support us. And it's critical to us that we are able to constantly leverage that whole spectrum of that workforce. We train our active duty members, and sometimes we lose them. So that when that happens, it's really important for us to be able to depend on contractor support, our partners in our contractors, to keep us marching down the cybersecurity path with some of the skills that they can bring to bear. Sometimes our contractor workforce is actually more stable than our active duty or even our civilian workforce, who we bring in and train, and then often they move on and get other jobs. And that's a good thing, but that tends to be a little bit more dynamic sometimes than our contractors.
Now, are you guys having that same set of rotation where people come in and they do a tour of duty for a certain number of years and they move on, and they're bringing that cyber experience with them, or that innovation experience?
Yes.
Hopefully.
Sometimes they're actually leaving the Coast Guard and finding jobs elsewhere. That's a risk in taking junior members and training them up with some high-end cybersecurity skills, and then they find they can get paid 4 times as much as they're making elsewhere, and they leave, and I don't blame them. We will keep training people because we need that part of our workforce. We also bring in Coast Guard operators who don't have cybersecurity experience, and Not so much in my world where we're in C4IT service delivery. We really need the technical IT skills. But in Coast Guard Cyber Command, we are bringing in operators, and they absolutely can fit in mission planner roles or areas where, with an understanding of cyber and defensive cyberspace operations, they don't have to understand all the technical aspects of it, and they're doing a fantastic job there.
We talked cybersecurity, we talked mission, we've talked the idea of enterprise IT. Let me bring up the last topic here around innovation, and I think that's the key piece to this. You need all those pieces to get down that path of innovation, and Renee, I keep throwing it to you because it seems like every time we bring this up, innovation, risk, it all fits into the NASA world. I did an interview just recently that the NASA civil servants, and this was amazing, you probably know this, they come up with 300 to 400 inventions, innovations that result in patents each year. Civil servants, not talking about the rest of it. So innovation is, again, if you need an eye in NASA somewhere, talk a little bit about how you promote innovation with cyber, with mission, with enterprise.
Thank you, Jason, for that question.
Sorry, it's a little long.
No, but I think one of this is, I think the new factor, I'll call it newer, the cybersecurity factor with this innovation, and how does one go forward? It is curious minds and capable individuals, experimentation. Edison, how many iterations of the light bulb did he say he made first? And that is that it is because of that we got off the ground in the first place, the Wright brothers, and it's how we got to the moon so many decades ago. I actually believe it was this month in June, and that came from innovation, and it came from curiosity and thinking that things are possible. But in this day and age with cybersecurity, and I look at let's say telemetry data, 1, 0, or 1 disrupted could be a really bad day. And so mission assurance is dependent upon our cybersecurity. So we're trying to find that very delicate balance, and I think it's probably the hair of a fairy, a really small one, that we have to thread. And that's because you cannot stop innovation, and you shouldn't stop innovation, because you never know which innovation is the thing that's going to get you to your next level. We don't know which next innovation is going to get us to Mars with humans and back safely, not in a convertible like we saw in Martian. And that is so it's how do you manage the chaos associated with innovation? And this is where cloud comes in. This is where, again, our partnerships in federal space, from agency to agency, as well as our contractors, and that is figuring out places where we can go invent that don't affect or infect our critical infrastructure that we might have. And this is where we're starting to experiment and need to go out and say, okay, go play over there with the right credentials, because I'm going to feel better that some of our, that the other parts of my infrastructure are protected, because they're frankly not even touching on that one. And so this is where we get to be creative, and we have to be creative, and we got to sit down the table as partners and say, okay, yes, you can go play, but please do it in this area. Make it scalable. This is where cloud comes in. It's very handy, and then they can just kind of go nuts and go through this innovation. Because we do have a lot of patents. We have a large number of patent attorneys, and every year we put out a book called Spin-Off. Yep. And these are the inventions that have gone back for the benefit of humanity around the entire globe, and we're very proud of that. And so I'm here to make sure it's managed chaos, so that it's not a really bad Friday afternoon for myself and my leadership at NASA.
Now, Angie, what Renee seems to be talking about here is the sandbox concept, right? Go do this someplace safe. What are you seeing from your federal agency clients in terms of this innovation piece? How are they making that balance?
Yeah, so similar to what Renee said, that I think every customer that I work with, right, embraces innovation, which is probably one of the reasons why I love my job, right? It's so critical to their mission and to the success of their organization. And so being able to find a way to cultivate that culture, to be able to innovate, and innovate whether it be through technology or through processes, or even, quite honestly, even from an acquisition perspective, right? To be able to do it in a way that's simpler, that's faster, that you can make sure you get exactly what you want. I think for cybersecurity, innovation is something that we have to not only succeed at, but we have to thrive at, because all the adversaries out there are continually to change and evolve and innovate in different ways. And I think if we can combine innovation with collaboration and pull together in different industries to be able to combat those attackers, I think we will ultimately succeed in defending the great organizations that we all support.
Captain Dickey, let me turn to you real quick. Since you're the service center, you're the delivery. Talk about maybe an example or two of innovations that maybe come to your mind that maybe the Coast Guard has recently come through with.
So I can't say that we've come through with anything, but I can say that we have a very different perspective on innovation, obviously, than NASA does. Where I want to see innovation is actually being driven by the need to apply stronger cybersecurity controls. So all of the threat that we're seeing is driving us towards being more innovative in, I think you said acquisitions, Angie. Yeah, we have to think about how we execute our acquisitions and how we acquire services. We have to do that differently. We need to look at how we deliver services. We need things that we have traditionally done ourselves and we host in our own data center, and we have a lot of stovepipe standalone apps. We can't keep up. And so we need to be looking to industry, looking to cloud, looking to consolidate those services, and that's being driven by the cybersecurity need. We can't keep up with the requirements right now. So that's the innovation I'm looking for, is how can we change the way we deliver services?
But let me put a finer point on this, because we know we got a little bit caught up in the cyber world, but innovation happens outside of cyber. You have to have the balance. When the mission side comes to you and say, we need this new thingamabob, the doodles, this widget, right? How do you balance that with the cyber piece, but also to give them what they need? So again, we go back to what I said to Renee very early, CIO no, right?
We've had a few challenges there, and we have had operators in the field going out and doing some experimenting and coming up with some great ideas, and they end up getting them in front of senior flag officers, and we're shaking our heads like, oh no, I can't believe they saw that. And we have to address those, and we have to tackle them head on. A lot of it's back to communicating with the workforce, communicating with our operators, making sure that they understand the risk that they are exposing, not only themselves to, but because all of our systems operate as a single enterprise that supports the entire Coast Guard. It's not just your stuff that's at risk now. Right. And when you go do those things, you're putting the entire Coast Guard at risk.
And that's such key. That's not just your thing that is at risk. I see both Renee and Angie are nodding their heads here. And I think that's actually a great point to segue to talk about this conversation more broadly. We're almost out of time, and it's been a very enjoyable conversation. I know we started with Renee. We're going to start with you again on the back end of these questions. When you talk about mission, and you talk about enterprise and the collaboration that's happening, and then you throw in cyber to the top of it, and then you throw innovation kind of waves overall there, how does this all work together? What should people keep in mind as they move forward? What are some things that's working for NASA that maybe you would share as a best practice?
Share with as a best practice. Wow. Yeah.
Or even like, what do you think people should take away from our conversation?
So I would do this, right? Is nothing is ever about control. It is always about inspiring and managing and leading and allowing curiosity and doing what you can to put those in the right places. And so as long as you allow folks to do things and be who they are in a managed way, then great things will happen for your mission, and great things will happen for your organization and that. And there's no science to it. There's no recipe book, five newt eyes and one long witch hair, and then it all works out for you. It's really very much an art, and bottom line, it all rests on really good collaboration and really good communication skills.
I really like the curiosity, hire curious individuals. I mean, so Captain Dickey, talk a little bit about how where the Coast Guard is heading and how to bring all these different aspects together.
So we bring it all together, I think, through our cyber program, our execution of the cyber strategy, and part of that is training, and a big part of the training, focusing on the operational Coast Guard, because that's why we're here. That's why we worry about cybersecurity in the first place. We have to make it clear to our operators that cybersecurity is commander's business. So the commanding officer of a ship has to worry about the cybersecurity of the systems that he or she depends on. And we're making inroads there. Now, before a ship deploys, we're talking about the cybersecurity of those systems and is everything patched and up to date before we deploy that ship and potentially put them in harm's way. So culture, changing the culture and changing the way we think about our IT systems and cybersecurity.
And Angie, you get the last word of the day.
Great. My organization really focuses on making sure that we help our customers be more secure and more efficient. And whether it's through enterprise AT or allowing them to get more mission capability or ensuring that everything that they do is in the most secure way to fit their risk posture, we feel we bring the best people. And I think Renee said it, right? Making sure that you have a team that is motivated and curious and problem solvers to ensure that those missions are met every single day is absolutely what I think why we all come to work.
Great points. This has been a fascinating conversation. Unfortunately, we are out of time for today. You've been listening to the panel discussion, Balancing the Need for Cybersecurity with the Desire for Innovation, sponsored by Leidos on federalnewsradio.com and 1500 AM. I'm your moderator, Jason Miller. I'd like to thank my guests for today. Angie Heisey, the Civil Group President for Leidos, Renee Wynn, the Chief Information Officer at NASA, and Captain Michael Dickey, the Commander of the U.S. Coast Guard's C4IT Service Center. For more on this discussion, visit federalnewsradio.com and search Leidos.
On behalf of Federal News Radio, thank you for joining us. A link to the archive session will be sent to you shortly. If you qualified for continuing education credit, you will also receive an email with your training certificate. This concludes our discussion. Thank you.